All right, good afternoon, everyone. Please take a moment to update your Zoom name if you have not done so already, to indicate which institution you are affiliated with. Of course, to do this, you're going to go to the participants window, hover over your name and click on more, and then click rename. That way we can see who you are affiliated with. This webinar is being recorded for those who were not able to make it live, and hopefully you get a chance to review it at some point. All right, so good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar, OER and Introduction with Live Discovery. My name is Trisha Clark. I am the Community College Engagement Librarian at the University of the District of Columbia. And as I mentioned, we are recording this meeting for those who are not able to attend synchronously. I am a member of the WRLC's Textbook Affordability Working Group. So our team members represent most of the WRLC schools. Please make sure to take note of the contact at your school so you can follow up with them if you have any questions. If you do not see a representative from your university listed, you can contact the WRLC Open Contact at open@wrlc.org. So today, I'm going to talk a bit about what open educational resources, otherwise known as OER, what those are. And that includes, of course, open textbooks. I'm also going to talk about some of the benefits of OER and then demonstrate how to find some open textbooks as well as ancillary materials using a few OER finders. And then I'll leave some room at the end for questions. All right, so open textbooks are written by faculty, much like traditional textbooks. They're written by faculty and other experts in various subject areas, and many are written specifically for college-level courses. Like traditional textbooks, they also undergo rigorous editorial processes, which includes peer review. However, unlike traditional textbooks, open textbooks have flexible licenses. They're called Creative Commons licenses or CC BY licenses, which gives you great flexibility in how you can use them. Access is online and completely free for students and faculty. And the authors of open textbooks want you to be able to download, to share, to remix, and adapt their work as appropriate for your course, which typically is not the case for traditionally published textbooks or standard copyrighted materials. There is a common misconception that the use of any freely available material is the same thing as using OER in a classroom, and that's not the case. The reality is, to be considered OER, the resources must meet a few criteria. So firstly, OER are materials that are created with education as its primary focus. The most common example of OER is something like an electronic textbook or an ebook, but can include a variety of educational materials, and that includes things like classroom slides, syllabi, videos, or other examples of ancillary materials. The material must also expressly give permission to use and reuse materials. This permission is often given through the use of a Creative Commons license. There are many different Creative Commons licenses, as you can see on this chart here. For material to be considered OER, it must allow derivatives or adaptations of the original work. If a CC license contains the letters ND, I know that's a bit small, but it's all the way at the bottom there. If that license contains the letters ND, which stands for non-derivative, that means that the derivatives or adaptations of this work are not allowed, and thus the material cannot technically be considered OER. I will note that other materials with these permissions can also be used, even if they weren't created with education as a primary focus. So for instance, open access journal articles with a Creative Commons license is a good example, but there are also some other freely available websites, such as some government creative materials that have a level of permission that will allow them to be used as OER. So one of the primary advantages of OER, and one that probably most faculty and students are most aware of, is that these materials can help alleviate some financial burdens for students. Faculty can help students save money by replacing traditional textbooks with no cost or low cost resources in their classrooms and effectively help to lower that barrier to access. However, another benefit of using OER is that faculty can make resources available to students so that even when the course ends, they're still able to access those materials. Making resources available to students beyond the scope of the course allows them to revisit these materials for a variety of educational and applied purposes, and that increases the educational return on investment as these students engage with the material in different ways over a period of time, a longer period of time. And yet another benefit is the accessibility of the material itself. So sometimes there are potential barriers that users experience with traditional educational resources due to the design or the presentation of the material. And while accessibility is not necessarily guaranteed with OER materials, there is a wide range of accessibility options for OER materials. Although it's not guaranteed, since OER materials can be reused and repurposed, it's actually a lot easier for faculty to adapt them to fit the needs of their students, and that includes accessibility needs. An additional reason for using OER, if you can't tell, there are several reasons. So an additional reason for using OER is that it can sometimes offer pedagogical advantages to faculty. Open textbooks make it possible for faculty to be more flexible when it comes to learning materials, and they can even adapt multiple kinds of materials to suit their students. So you can pull material from different open textbooks, for instance, to create one resource or one textbook that you can use with your classes. They also offer opportunities for more meaningful or engaging classes, and they offer situations or opportunities for more culturally appropriate classes. The nature of OER, specifically its ability to be remixed and adapted, is perfectly suited to allow for adaptations that not only suit the needs of students, but can also be tailored to be culturally relevant. Some open textbooks contain ancillary materials that include interactive elements like self-assessments and videos, and some of these things support multimodal learning. Multimodal learning has been demonstrated to increase student engagement in a learning process, and it also provides faculty with more pedagogical flexibility. There are, of course, also ancillary materials such as videos, tests, and quizzes, and even whole courses that faculty can use to enhance a class. And these materials are entirely separate from open textbooks. So now I'll take some time to demonstrate how to use some OER finders for both textbooks, open textbooks, as well as separate ancillary materials. So the first site I have up here is the Open Textbook Library, which you may or may not be familiar with. It's a popular site for open textbooks. I've just pulled up a textbook here. You have the opportunity to browse textbooks by specific subjects, right? You can search the library for specific titles or specific authors if you're interested. Once you pull up a book that you think you may be interested in, you have access to a few different pieces of information here. So you have the table of contents visible to you up front. You can see if the book has been reviewed by how many people. This one happens to have not been reviewed, but these books are also often reviewed as well as have had a rigorous peer review process. You can learn a bit more about the book by reading a summary at the bottom on that bottom right corner. There are some linked ancillary materials depending on the book that you're looking at. And it also tells you a bit about the formats that are available to you and to your students and about the license, which is often listed on the bottom left-hand corner here. You also have information here about the contributors. So the Open Textbook Library is a popular site. It is a user-friendly site. Again, it's pretty relatively easy to find what you need using the Browse Subjects option or to search a library specifically. Another great option for open textbooks is LibreCommons text. And one of the things I tell students when I go into the classroom is that we talk about filters and how helpful filters can be, right? It helps to reduce that frustration for which is typically part of the research process. The same thing goes for finding open materials. You can use filters for searching for various things. So here you can see you can search by subject, right? So you can scroll through and see what's available. It is listed alphabetically. You can search by license, which could be useful if you're specifically looking for certain kinds of resources. For instance, CC BY, right? Which means that you are able to revise, adapt, remix it as needed. If there's a particular author that you are aware of that has done Maybe you've encountered an OER textbook, an open textbook before by a particular author, or there are some materials by a particular author you know may be available. You can search for the author's name in this space as well. Okay. And let me just give you an example of what some of these books look like. So if you click on a textbook, again, you have access to a summary of what the book is about, what the book is going to be focused on. There is a list of table of contents that you can click through. Again, you have access to information like the author's name, the creator's name, the license that it's under. There is some ratings here. So this book has been reviewed. And again, you have multiple formats that you can use or that your students can use, help you use the book. This is also really helpful. You get a chance to look at a bit more closely at the licensing. I like that about LibreText. I think it's a pretty cool way of looking at just the different licenses that are associated with the book and what percentages of that book are part of that process, which is really cool. All right, so that's LibreText. So again, open textbook library and LibreText Commons can be really great for open textbooks. I'm also going to take some time to show you another site called Oasis. This one I like a lot because you have textbooks up front. You can search for textbooks, open textbooks. You also have access to a ton of different kinds of materials, including course materials. As I mentioned, you can look at entire courses that are presented on certain subjects and certain topics. There are even interactive simulations. So one of the fun things about some of these OER finders is it connects you to at various levels, right? So you can, anything ranging from K through 12, community college, university level of materials that you can use as part of your lessons, as part of your syllabi. I particularly enjoy interactive simulations for things. So this is really helpful to be able to identify that as part of a search. The other really cool thing about Oasis is that it gives you an idea of what icons you're looking at, your results from the results. So it makes that a bit clearer. Right? If you click on a source, it tells you the grade level that you're working with, and then the kind of material that you're working with as well. So Oasis is really fun for additional materials. So of course you do have access to open textbooks as well, but you have things like course materials, interactive simulations, specific modules that you may be able to incorporate into your own lessons, in addition to things like audiobooks. And then the last site I'm going to show you is OER Commons, which is another popular site. And of course, you can find open textbooks here as well. But I like this site specifically for looking for things like ancillary materials. Going back to my comment about filters. So of course, you could search just right here using this simple search. You can search by subject. Again, pretty user-friendly. You can search by educational level. So you can even select community college specifically versus college and upper division. And then, of course, you have access to graduate materials and adult education materials. What's particularly great about OER Commons is that you can also search by standards. There are a number of educational standards here. And if you're looking for material to fit within a particular standard, you can select that as part of your initial filter choice and search there. You can, of course, also search using the advanced search. This is another thing I point out to students. Sometimes the advanced search is a little bit more helpful because it provides you with information up front that's visual. And I really love that you are able to select not only things like the subject area and how you plan on using it, educational use, but you can specifically select material type from a list, right? So if you're looking for a syllabi, syllabi to compare yours to or to create a new one for. If you are looking for lectures or looking for maybe a module to input into your own course page, if you are looking for specific activities, you can do that here. You do also have access to the educational level. So again, you can select community college, as needed. And then you can select the media format. You can select certain accessibility options here, and of course the license type. Do all that once you type in your search. You are also able to access materials in different languages. So OER Commons, I think, is a great option for, of course, open textbooks, but again, an additional opportunity for you to find ancillary materials. In fact, if we do a quick test search here, let's say I'm interested in something in the life sciences for students. What's really great is that you get a sense, you can see the licenses up front. If you click on that little eye, it tells you specifically what you are allowed to do with this resource, with this material. Okay. Again, you get the material type. You get access to the creator, the author of this material. If it is rated, you will see a rating under one of these stars here. You get a short description, right? And then the actual resource itself. Okay. So to sum up, you have access to a few different kinds of sources. Open Textbook Library and LibreText Commons are great for open textbooks. You can also, I think it's open textbooks. One of these, Oasis. Maybe not Oasis. One of these gives you access to homework material. I was looking at this earlier. Wow. Oh, here we go. Homework. I knew one of them. Okay, so the catalog on LibreText Commons. So you have access to open textbooks. You can also, so ancillary materials also includes things like study banks, tests, quizzes, right? So you have access to some pre-created information here to help with homework and some of those assignments as well. And there you have it. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen. I should say I'm going to return to my PowerPoint presentation here and give you all a chance to ask any questions if you have any. Not hearing any questions, so thank you very much for joining us today for this informational session on OER and a live demo of some of the websites. If you have any questions at all, feel free to reach out to your contact, your liaison at your university, or at the open@wrlc.org email. Thank you all very much.